Graham from Go Fast here, and we are here with Quinn from 74 Weld and his insane Ultra 4 Ranger Raptor camper truck. The elephant in the room here is this thing's on portal axles, which is why it looks so crazy, even if you don't know what that is. And what the portal axles are is probably the future of suspension technology, but we're gonna jump into that later. But first, Quinn, let's talk about why you started with the Ranger Raptor.
Well, I mean, it was pretty simple. I looked at the spec sheet before this truck was released. 3-liter twin turbo motor, same motor that's in the Bronco Raptor. Fox live valve suspension. The wheelbase was good, and I personally really like a mid-size truck, and I've been an anti-mid-size truck guy my entire life. And then last year, I bought a 23 Tacoma, I threw a GFC on it, and I was instantly hooked.
Yeah.
And so when this came out, I went, more power, better suspension, throw a camper on it. It's just kind of the ultimate adventure rig.
Yeah, so the Ranger Raptor, for those of you who are uninitiated, is probably the best value in performance mid-size trucks by far. I mean,
yeah,
$10,000 cheaper than a TRD Pro Tacoma.
Yeah, fully loaded. There's really not many options on this truck because it's a Raptor.
Yeah, so on this build, even though it looks completely crazy, it's really from the stance and the wheel and tire fitment. It's actually not that far off from stock. So let's kind of walk through the build kind of front to rear and talk about all the things that are different from normal.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's because I'm getting older, but I like stock bumpers. I like to kind of keep an OE look to everything if I can.
Yep.
We just built a simple light bar for the front, mounted up some Baja Designs LP4s on it. And I get a ton of requests for these. We're gonna start producing something slightly different, maybe with a few machine components into it.
A little push bar.
But it's just a push bar, and it's really just to hold lights. As far as the motor goes, it's everything in the engine bay is stock. I have done the Ford Performance calibration tool, which gives 470 horse and 540 pound-feet of torque.
100 foot-pound, right?
It's noticeable, especially when you drive it in sport mode.
Yeah, that's quite a bit of power.
It definitely is noticeably more power.
So that probably kind of returns the heavier wheel and tire combo that you're pushing now more to like the stock tiny wheel and tire combo performance, right?
Well, sort of. So we actually do that and then some in the Portal, because this is technically a 16% larger tire, but we gear it down 22%.
Oh, so it's even deeper.
So it's already snappy off the go without the tune, but the tune really does make it better.
Yeah, so while we're here talking about these obscenely large tires and the big machine billet part in the back here.
Yeah.
What's going on in the front end?
So this runs our standard kind of production Portal kit.
Yep.
It's a 3.8 inch or 3.9 inch lift.
So for those that are uninitiated, how would you describe a Portal in 30 seconds?
Okay, so it's a gearbox that goes at the wheel of the vehicle, and it gives that a separate input from output. So it lifts the vehicle, it gives it a gear reduction, it widens the track width by 3.5 inches.
So basically you have like all these trucks, whether it's front end or rear end, have an output drive shaft that spins the wheel.
Yes.
So you're running that output shaft into a vertical stack of gears, right?
Yeah.
They're as thin as possible so you don't make the truck too wide.
As thin as possible, but still thick enough to be able to hold up to actual power. This Portal set is our production stuff. We released it last week, sold out first day. We've got another production run in the works. The wheels and tires. So this is a custom wheel that we collabed with Method on. It's 17 by 8 plus 45. It's the only forged bead grip that Method sells. 37-inch Nitto trail grapplers.
Yep.
I probably should move to an all-terrain because I drive the vehicle so much.
Yep.
But they do look good and they work pretty good off-road. So
absolutely.
I'm happy with them. But other than that, like the front suspension is all stock. So stock upper, stock lower, stock sway bar.
Keeping all the lane keeping all the parking sensors, keeping all the backup cameras, forward-facing cameras.
Yep.
Everything's still functioning as a stock truck. But you basically just, with the Portal axle, you've lifted the front end
3.9 inches.
3.9 inches, pushed the wheel fitment out, tucked it back in with this high offset wheel, and just basically you're trying to keep this thing what you call a OEM Plus, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
That OEM Plus concept, I think, is really manifested here with your with your stock side steps, right?
So I really like the stock side steps. And so what we did is built a full tube structure underneath this and then attach that to the frame so I can actually use these as rock sliders. And the other side I hit pretty good up in Big Bear. But it's just something where like I don't want an aftermarket truck with a ton of bolted on stuff. I want it to function at a high level,
And
but
helping
still
your
look
kids
OEM.
and your wife get out of the car without complaining all the time.
Well,
about it.
they would complain a bunch because when we were doing R&D on this, I'd come home and the steps were not on, and they're like, "Where's the steps?"
Yep.
We're getting there.
Totally. The rear is the same treatment with just the portals, but otherwise
That's
effectively
it.
stock rear end, right?
Yeah, totally stock rear end. Portals just bolt right on. To do the rear portal install, I can do both sides in like an hour.
Yeah.
Still keep the factory caliper. It is a bigger rotor, both front and rear. And we do that because we know you're gonna go to a larger tire.
Yeah.
And we give you a little bit more stopping power.
So beyond the portal fitment in the back, I guess you do have a Go Fast camper on the back.
Yeah,
That's a somewhat big mod.
well, it's an easy button kind of, because I camp a lot with both my kids. And you know, this is the second GFC. I owned one on my 23 Tacoma and just fell in love with the versatility of it. And it just makes it so easy to set up in 5 seconds, pop the thing, you got your bedding there. A lot of times I'll even leave quilts and stuff up top, and you're just instantly set up. So,
And you said this is your daily. How do you find the GFC in use as a daily driver setup?
there's no real downside to it. If I want to throw stuff in the back, it's secure, I can lock it. It's kind of a no-brainer in the sense that like, there's not really any detraction from it. I mean, you can see my pillow hanging and that stuff. Like I leave bedding in this thing all the time.
Yeah,
And
whether
whether
this is
I'm
the new V2 Pro.
Yes. So if I'm throwing a surfboard in or whatever, like I can lock gear in here. I just keep a tool bag, an ice chest, and a battery bank.
Yes, let's talk
At all
about kind of
times.
this setup back here. So you've got the bed rug.
Yeah, just ordered it from Ford, said, hey, I want a bed rug. It showed up. Cool. I did cut in, I was up at Freedom Coast and saw some of their custom extrusions.
Yep, those guys are awesome.
And went, oh, I gotta get those. So it gives me the ability to kind of mount stuff down a bit better. So I keep a Blizzard box in here, and I just bought this a couple weeks ago. It's like a 2,000 watt battery bank.
And that's got the big built-in charge controller, right? So you've got the onboard automotive charging and the solar input there as well.
Yeah, so that thing basically will charge the battery bank at 800 watts when the car is running.
Yeah.
So, you know, I have solar on the roof that I had to rip off because I had to replace the solar panel, and I have a new one, I just haven't remounted it, but I don't know that I really need it because that thing charges it pretty quick.
And then I love this little trick that you figured out here. You're obviously the product engineer.
Yeah.
The bed rug is basically the loop side of the Velcro.
Yep.
So you put the hook on the bottom of this.
Well, it was always rolling around,
Dude.
and I always love to have wipes in there because, you know, you're
there's
getting
nothing
dirty.
worse than noises in the back.
Yeah.
That's why we
Yeah.
designed the Go Fast in the first place. So this is a great solution to minimize those noises.
Well, and I've got some sunscreen in cup holders.
oh yeah, with the magnets.
Yep.
The free koozies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. It works good. We're either camping or we're at the beach, and it's just nice to have the staples of like, we want this to get by.
And you had a V2 before on your Tacoma build.
I did.
And then now you've got the V2 Pro. And I'm curious, like, what's your experience been? Because largely it's not that different if you look at it.
I know you keep saying that, but like, it's the little differences that when you add up a bunch of little things, it equates to a big difference. So integrated lighting, that's probably, and the red is the best color. Yeah, you can change it, but I clearly already have it set at red. And then independent circuits, top and bottom for lighting, like it just makes everything a little more convenient. Definitely the biggest thing I noticed between my other camper and in my 23 Tacoma and this is the bedding.
Yeah.
And that mattress is just so much better.
So going over this truck build, kind of seeing all the OEM Plus solutions and all the intentionality around this, what is your ethos as someone who's been around trucks for a long time when it comes to building a truck for off-road, for camping and daily driving?
Yeah, I mean, one of my major concerns with everything that all these kind of builds that we do is weight. And so like you notice I didn't do a spray and bed liner on it because that adds like 50 pounds. I guess on this platform, I really tried not to mess with the suspension much because it's so good right out of the box. Like it doesn't really need much.
Yeah, no, I mean, they thought through this thing and designed it super well.
Sometimes less is more. And in this case, with this vehicle, like really less is more. it's built out to where I can just go.
Well, dude, thanks so much for coming out and showing us the truck.
Yeah, thanks, man.
For sure. If you guys have any questions about this thing, hit us up in the comments. Follow Quinn at 74 Weld. He's on all the social channels there. He's got some really killer in-depth videos on how the portals work and the metallurgy and science that goes into this, because this is not some simple problem to solve. It's actually kind of an engineering marvel. So we're stoked to get a tour of this thing, and hopefully we'll get some time out on the trails with it.